Wars is part of the Rippin Podcast Network. In this episode of Cardboard Wars, Ben Ripping and Kevin Rips explore the evolution of American football from its chaotic roots in 1869 to its current status as a cultural powerhouse. Discover how figures like Walter Camp and Theodore Roosevelt transformed the sport, dive into the financial and media transformations of the Super Bowl, and examine the dizzying rise of sports card collecting, including a look at some historic sales. This episode offers a rich narrative that combines sports history, cultural shifts, and the intriguing world of sports memorabilia. So sit back and enjoy this episode of Cardboard Wars.
It's November 1869 in New Brunswick, New Jersey. Two college teams step onto a rough patch of grass, Rutgers and Princeton. No helmets, no pads, 25 players on each side. What's happening is not quite rugby, and it sure in the heck isn't soccer. History will remember this as the beginning of something entirely new.
The ball's kicked, bodies collide. Of course, students are cheering. You got bodies colliding. And without even knowing it, these players ignite a movement that will shape American culture for more than a century to come.
This is the story of how football, the American football, transformed from chaos and controversy into one of the most powerful sports institutions on earth.
You know, I have to confess something because you made me think of it, Ben. I now, when I type football into, say, like Google or whatever, I put parentheses American first. Ever since we did the Messi episode, I feel the need to specify. I don't know what it is, but anyways, this is a story of innovation. It's rivalry. There's some political intervention. You and I were talking about that offline, which I thought was pretty cool. Of course, it's football. So we're going to talk about TV, billions, and I mean billions of dollars in mergers and reinventions.
Do you know what else this is, Kevin?
I think you're about to tell me.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is Cardboard Wars. I am lucky enough to be one of your co-hosts. I go by Ben Ripping online, and I'm joined today by Kevin Rips, and we are so excited to talk about the history of sports cards, and the players that adorn them. Today, a little bit different. We're talking about the history of American football. And we're going back in time to 1870 now. Yale University. There's a young player who most of us have probably never heard of, named Walter Camp. He's standing on the sidelines watching these sorts of scrums form. Players are crashing into each other. The ball's disappearing under a pile of bodies. And to Walter, this isn't a sport. This is barely even controlled chaos.
But you got to give old Walter some props because he recognized that this chaos could be improved. He said the game of football should reward discipline and intelligence, not just brute force.
Walter proposed some radical ideas all the way back in the late 1800s. He said, we're only going to have 11 players per team. We're going to have an official line of scrimmage. There's going to be a snap, and we're going to have a system of downs and yardage. And for the first time, each individual play will have structure. Strategy is going to replace the mayhem.
I've heard historians compare Walter Camp to Henry Ford. He didn't invent the game, though. He engineered it. He turned brawling into tactics, muscle into methodology, and football became like a game of chess, except played at full speed.
And it was the strategy, Kevin, that created the popularity. By the early 1900s, American football explodes in popularity. Players were wearing leather caps at best. There was mass formations that were still crushing players under piles. In 1905 alone, newspapers still reported 18, get this, Kevin, 18 football-related deaths that year.
Gosh, think about how far football has come. 18 deaths, which it's horrible, right? And now you can't even look at the quarterback wrong anymore. But so of course, parents protest, colleges threaten to ban the sport. There's a journalist that calls football a sanctioned form of organized savagery, right? But we got lucky because a very powerful fan stepped in.
Not just a fan. We're talking about the president, Theodore Roosevelt, Kevin.
Yeah, he is like, you call him the most powerful fan on the planet, right? But he loved toughness, but he hated unnecessary death. So he calls college leaders to the White House and he issues them a challenge.
We must reform this game of football or we will lose it.
So out of that meeting at the White House comes reform and obviously evolution, right? The forward pass becomes a part of the game. Mass formations, or I guess you could still call them scrums, are banned. The field opens up. And here's what happens. Creativity starts to replace carnage.
Yeah, football doesn't die like Kevin and I. It just grew up.
It's something we both refuse to do, I've noticed. Roosevelt, it'd be said, Roosevelt didn't just save the sport. He actually forced it to become, yes, he was looking for safer, right? That's what he wanted. He wanted to get rid of the deaths and the savagery, but he forced it to become smarter.
Go back in time a little bit in the late 1800s, in all these industrial towns, they didn't have college teams. They had factory teams. And there was envelopes of cash that were being handed to the best players. In 1892, William Pudge Heffelfinger is paid $500 for one game. It's the first documented professional football player. Everybody Google and look up William, the Pudge, they called them, Heffelfinger.
There's so many jokes, Ben, that I'm just going to skip. At this point, though, football, you give this guy money. Football's no longer like a game. It's no longer just a pastime. It's a business now.
Yeah, in 1920 in Canton, Ohio, inside a car dealership, a small group of team owners form the American Professional Football Association, which will evolve in the future to become the NFL.
Yeah, but like a lot of startups, the league struggles, teams fold, you get very thin crowds until one man changes everything. That man was Red Grange, the Galloping Ghost.
Football history on rain-soaked Franklin Field, Philadelphia. Red Grange defeats Pennsylvania. The ball carrier in these rare scenes is the Galloping Ghost himself. In this, his first appearance in the East, Red piles up 363 out of a total of 450 yards for Illinois and scores 3 touchdowns.
When Grange turned pro, Kevin, crowds started to flood stadiums. Newspapers can't print about him fast enough. Grantland Rice wrote, "He runs as though something unseen were lifting him up."
Grange proves something critical. Football, it can sell tickets and heroes.
Reminds me a little bit of Babe Ruth's impact on the game, Caitlin Clark's impact on the WNBA. Sometimes all it takes is a couple people that others can build upon in the future. Let's go a little bit further in time. When television is starting to change the game, in 1958, Yankee Stadium, Colts versus Giants, millions are watching this on television.
The 1958 World Championship of Professional Football, featuring the New York Giants and the Baltimore Colts, with Chris Schenkel. The New York Giants, bruised and battered and held together by adhesive tape, won 8 of their last 9 games to earn their 10th Eastern Conference crown. The Baltimore Colts topped off a 5-year building program by smashing to their first Western title.
This becomes this new American ritual. The game goes into sudden death overtime, and Johnny Unitas leads a final drive, and the crowd goes crazy.
Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores a most dramatic finish in professional football.
That night becomes known as the greatest game ever played.
And it isn't just a championship, it's a television event.
Yeah, there was a historian that wrote, football didn't just adapt to television, it became television.
Sponsors followed. Broadcast deals explode. America forms a new weekly ritual.
That's right. Sundays. Oh, I know Sundays are supposed to be for church and family time, but they become sacred because of football.
In 1960, a rival league emerges, the AFL. They're faster, they're flashier, they're bolder, they recruit stars, and they steal talent from the NFL. Salaries start to skyrocket, tension is rising.
Yeah, and something you and I both love. Football becomes a business war, right? It's no longer played on the field. It's also played in the contracts and in the boardrooms.
In 1966, the league agrees to merge, and they create a new championship game called the Super Bowl.
That's right. Standing on the sidelines, you got coach. Think the first coach we all think of, Vince Lombardi. Vince said, perfection is not attainable, but Ben, if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence. The merger transforms football from a sport into a national institution.
The 1970s and the 1980s, really, they create dynasties. The Pittsburgh Steelers, the Dallas Cowboys, the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, you get names like Bradshaw, Montana, Peyton. They become American mythology.
Monday Night Football turns games into primetime theater. Howard Cosell's voice echoes across millions and millions of living rooms.
A week ago Sunday in this blizzard in Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, with this touchdown burst by Franco Harris, beat the Bengals 7-3. Yesterday, they swarmed over Tampa Bay 42-0. Their playoff hopes still alive, but they must wait and watch that man tonight. Kenny Anderson, the brilliant.
Yeah, football at this point, it's not just entertainment anymore. It's actually becoming American identity.
The 1990s and the 2000s kind of reshaped the entire business. Free agency, salary caps, global expansion, analytics kind of redefined how coaches coach.
Quarterbacks like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady usher in precision, timing, system-based offenses.
But another conversation is also arising: concussions. We're talking about the health of these players and the long-term cost of playing the game.
Yeah, I referenced this earlier, but, this had to happen. Rules had to change. Luckily, equipment, started to evolve. The game adapted again because that's what it had to do.
Yeah, historian Michael Oriard summed it up. Football mirrors America. It changes because America changes. Now, coming up for all of us, depending on when you listen to this episode, is the Super Bowl. And Kevin Rips and I wanted to take a few minutes and really dive in, now that we've covered the history of football, into the history of the Super Bowl. Let's go back. January 1967, we're in Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. The stands aren't full. Ticket prices are $10. Two football leagues stand on opposite sidelines, staring each other down. On one side, the established giant, the NFL. On the other, the bold upstart, the AFL. This isn't just a football game. It's a clash of cultures, money, pride, and power.
Yeah, broadcasters don't even know what to call it yet. The papers label it the World Championship game, which sounds so funny to hear it stated that way, right? One owner tosses out a nickname inspired by his daughter's plastic toy, the Super Bowl. Soon, an offhanded joke becomes the name of an absolute empire.
No one knows it in that stadium yet, but there are witnesses to the birth of what will become the most watched annual sporting event in America, really a cultural ritual, an economic machine, and a global stage for these football legends.
Yeah, this is, when you think about the Super Bowl, it's a story how a game rose from skepticism and rivalry into a billion-dollar, and I do mean this word, spectacle.
The mid-1960s, the NFL is king, the AFL is brash, new, and hungry, and they signed big-name college stars away from other NFL franchises, driving salaries through the roof. The leagues are locked into this financial arms race.
Yeah, luckily, at this point, there's so much money involved. Like, executives are smart. They realize something like, if this continues, what might happen is both leagues could collapse. So in 1966, they agree to merge, but there's a catch. Until the merger is complete, their champions of each of these leagues they're going to face off in a single game.
A game the NFL expects to win easily, a game critics think will fail, and a game nobody realizes will become part of sports history.
Yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs line up across from the Green Bay Packers. Vince Lombardi stands on the sideline, the standard of discipline and excellence.
Just in case you're curious, everyone, the Packers win, just as expected, but something else happens. Millions of viewers decided to tune in. Curiosity kind of turned into intrigue, and we all realized that the game had some real potential.
Yeah, there was a reporter that said, this may grow into something far bigger than football realizes. Like, this guy had no idea how right he was.
2 years later, it's in Miami. The Baltimore Colts are favored by 18 points, but across the field stands revert back to a previous Cardboard Wars podcast, Joe Namath, the flashy quarterback from the New York Jets, aka Broadway Joe. He's confident, he's fearless, he's charismatic.
And days before the game, Namath shocked the world, as we mentioned on that previous episode. He guarantees a win.
Namath says, "We're gonna win. I guarantee it."
I think we got a heck of a shot of winning. We can beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
Yes, Namath is on the hot seat. Most of the pressure is on him. He has said that the Jets are going to win. He doesn't even predict it. He says, I guarantee a Jet victory.
Attitude is a whole lot in life. And I had a terrific attitude about that game.
I know we're going to win. I have that attitude. I feel that way, and it's not overconfidence thing. It's football sense.
Talking about guaranteeing we're going to win, yeah, that's right. That's the way we felt.
The press went wild for that, as you could imagine. Fans laugh. The NFL, of course, mocks the idea. But when the game begins, the Jets control the pace. The Colts, they struggle. And that underdog story just unfolded in real time.
And then it happens. The Jets win. The AFL is legitimate.
Unitas again. The pass to Richardson. He has the ball. The game is over. The New York Jets are the world champions. They have upset the Baltimore Colts and beat them handily here today.
Historians would call it the most important upset in football history because that day, the Super Bowl becomes something new. It's not just a game. It's a stage for drama, and it's a place where, quite frankly, anything is possible.
It stayed a stage for drama ever since, with a variety of different situations. By the 1970s, this merger between the AFL and the NFL is complete. The AFL becomes the AFC, and the NFL becomes the NFC. The Super Bowl now crowns one true champion every year.
Yeah, dynasties rise. You know, it's who I mentioned earlier, the Steelers, the Dallas Cowboys, my guys, the Oakland Raiders. And greatness becomes expectation.
Television networks are pouring money into buying the broadcast rights. The game grows beyond sports. It becomes a cultural holiday. And then something unexpected happens. Advertisers realize millions of eyes are glued to the screen.
Yeah, they start competing, not just for time, but they're competing for attention, right? I mean, commercials have become little miniature movies. The Super Bowl becomes a marketplace of creativity.
We all know groups of people that say, I only watch the Super Bowl for the commercials. For years, the halftime shows were just marching bands, local performers. It was just filler content. But in 1993, something changed. They put Michael Jackson onto the stage. He doesn't just perform, he turns halftime into some sort of spectacle, and the ratings go crazy. For the first time in history, more viewers tuned in for the halftime show than the actual game.
Yeah, from that day forward, really, halftime becomes a global entertainment event. You got names like Beyonce, Prince, U2, Shakira, J-Lo, Rihanna. Like the stage of the halftime show at the Super Bowl just becomes absolutely legendary.
And then the Super Bowl becomes about sports and music and commerce and culture all colliding into one place. And then by the 2000s, the Super Bowl is just this gigantic financial machine. Commercials cost millions. Stadiums compete to host. Cities lobby like they're bidding for the Olympics.
Yeah, the game becomes a platform, really, where heroes are made, legacies are sealed. I just think of the recent ones like Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, like that Patriots dynasty. Think of stuff like the helmet catch or the Philly special. In the final seconds, sorry, Ben, if this hurts, it probably still hurts a little bit, but that Seahawk Patriot goal line interception.
Oh, I remember it. But I was also at the Super Bowl when we played the Denver Broncos, where I'm pretty sure the only people from the Broncos to score were not football players that night. Each one becomes kind of part of mythology.
Yeah, one sports writer said the Super Bowl isn't just a game we watch, it's a story we remember.
And of course, there's controversy. With scale comes scrutiny. Critics question player safety. Debates rise over the culture and the money and the celebrities that are involved. But the Super Bowl is still sitting at this center of our American identity.
But like the game of football itself, it survives by simply adapting, whether that's, better or safer rules, safer policies, the more, I guess, inclusive production, just the global reach of that game.
Today, ladies and gentlemen, it's streamed around the world in over 180 different countries, viewed by over 100 million people every year. It's the biggest event in sports. And since this podcast, Cardboard Wars, is about sports and players and also cards, I thought Kevin and I would spend a little bit of time talking about some of the most valuable cards in football that have ever sold. And I'm going to start with number 10. And I have 80% confidence that this list is accurate, but 80%. Number 10, Kevin, in the list of most valuable sports cards in football ever sold, a 2020 Panini Immaculate Joe Burrow NFL Shield 1 of 1, sold in February of 2022 for $534,000. Who was number 9?
Oh man, that's a big number, by the way. Number 9. This should be no surprise, and I have a feeling we're going to hear this name a few more times, but it's the 2017 Panini Prism Patrick Mahomes gold vinyl, numbered to 5. It's one of Mahomes' best parallels. The gold vinyl copy fetched $676,000 at a golden auction in October of 21.
Another version selling a little bit after that for around $570,000. Still impressive. Now, number 8, another Mahomes, the 2017 National Treasures Patrick Mahomes Stars and Stripes RPA, number to 13, $720,000. Not too bad. Number 7, Kevin?
Yeah, well, we're talking about old Pat Mahomes. His 2017 National Treasures Black RPA, numbered to 5. Get this, Ben, $840,000. It remains one of Mahomes' greatest cards.
Number 6, 2017 National Treasures Mahomes Hollow Gold RPA, numbered to 10, $1,008,000 or $80,000, something like that. $1,080,000 sold by PWCC in September 2021. Number 5, Kevin.
The 2020 Panini Prism Justin Herbert Black Finite 1 of 1 sells for $1.1 million in September of 22. Like that's a massive sale and represented a major step for Herbert's market after the autograph variation of this card had just sold for like just a hair over $200,000 the previous year, October of 21.
Number 4, a 2020 Panini National Treasures Joe Burrow Platinum Shield 1 of 1, $1.7 million. Number 3?
Number 3 is the 2020 Panini National Treasures, also Justin Herbert Platinum Shield RPA 1 of 1 at $1.8 million.
Number 2, the 2000, you should all know who this is, Playoff Contenders Championship Ticket auto of Tom Brady sells for $3.8 million in June of 21. And the most expensive card ever sold in football, Kevin?
This should surprise nobody. A 2017 Panini National Treasures, Patrick Mahomes. Platinum Shield, RPA, 1 of 1. Beautiful looking card, by the way. $4.3 million. This was sold privately in the boom of 2021.
You know, I used to think, like, you know, if I would have been around in 1933, that maybe I would have had one of the most valuable card collections of all time, or early 1900s for some of these other players. But it kind of goes to show you that you never know who's going to be the next most valuable player in history. Most likely, the most valuable players for the next 10 or 20 years have not even started playing yet. And it's important that as collectors, we hold on to some of these potential stars. And over time, you never know what you may end up having in your collection. Remember that the secret to being poor is selling things that go up in value over time, which means the secret to being rich is the inverse, is to never sell things that go up in value over time. We, as card collectors, we're naturally traders. So continue to trade your cards for better versions, lower numbers, higher qualities, better graded of the best players, the players that you believe in, that maybe are just coming out today. And they don't have to be the Cooper Flags in the NBA. They could be the Derek Queens or the Jared McCains or Matas, or you just never know in a couple of years who that big player is going to be. Right, Kev?
Yeah. You know, I think about this list, and Tom Brady's an obvious, it makes sense that he's on this list of most valuable. Patrick Mahomes too. Herbert, not really. Like you'd never know who the collectors are going to latch on to and whose market is going to take off. And it's crazy to think, you know, you mentioned it's just, if I was around in like the 1930s, my collection would be worth so much. But actually, if you just bought a ton of National Treasures in 2017 and a ton of Prism in 2020, you might have the most valuable collection on the planet as well. So you just never know when it's going to take off.
We did an episode the other day about Joe Namath, and there's no PSA 10 of his 1965 Topps rookie card. I bet you if one was found, it would be in that 7-figure range. It would compete. Don't you think, Kev?
Oh, it would smash. If somebody found a PSA 10 of that, it would absolutely blow things up.
And you never know. One could pop up. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is Cardboard Wars. Do us a favor. Give us a follow on YouTube. Give us a review on Apple. Follow us on Instagram at Ben Ripping with the G at the end and Kevin Rips. Do us a favor. Reach out. Send us a message. Comment on our stuff. And we got some pretty cool swag we've been sending out to all of you. Hoodies and card stands and card mats. Like, we're just trying to get the message out. As you all know, we don't take sponsorships. We aren't out here selling anything. We're just collectors who love collectors, and we appreciate all the love that you have back. You know, at the time of recording this episode, we can report that Cardboard Wars has received 1.9 million views on YouTube alone in the last 28 days, and over 84,000 subscribers. So thank you all for giving listens and supporting Kevin, myself, Bob, and Jake, all of the different hosts of the show.
Thanks for listening to Cardboard Wars on the Rippin Podcast Network. Don't forget to leave a rating and review, and check out rippin.com to get connected to what we have coming up. Find us on Instagram and let us know what you would like to hear about on a future episode of Cardboard Wars. Until next time, keep rippin'.